Hey everybody, Keith, Two Guys How To. Thanks for checking the channel out. Today we're working on a PW80 and we're actually needs a new chain and sprockets. The chain is just slack, it's just slopping around. Some of the teeth on the rear sprocket are just eating off. So we went ahead and off of eBay, I think is where we got this. We got this old DID chain. It's a whole sprocket kit. So it's got your front sprocket, the smaller one, and it's got the rear sprocket. It's the bigger one, and it's got the chain to match. And you always want to do these kind of in a set. If you change one and you don't change the other, you're going to get uneven wear patterns and stuff, and it's just going to not decrease the longevity of the product. So this is a DID 420D chain, and it's made specifically for this. It's made in Japan, and Yamaha's made in Japan, so that's why we went with these type of parts. They had like a Bike Master or something on there. I didn't want one of those cheap chains. This one's pinned, shot peened, so it's good, man. It's longer life, it's solid, it's a good chain, good company, and we've got the matching sprockets, and you can dig them up on life or on the eBay. And this one's actually from Tucker Rocky, Biker's Choice, but we've got it on some pro chain place, and it was the whole kit and caboodle. The smaller sprocket is a JTF 546 and then 0.15, and the rear sprocket is a JTR 834.32. So this is a complete matching set. And down on this Yamaha that we've got behind me, the chain is super slack. I mean, just an overwhelming amount of slack. The teeth, some of the teeth on it are missing, and it's just garbage. You can hear it when it goes. It's so loose, it's rubbing the chain guard here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by just getting familiar with everything we're going to need. I've got, 3/8 drives, some sockets. This particular bolt back here is a 19 mil, so I've got a 19 mil wrench. I've got a pair of needle nose pliers to take out this little cotter pin that goes through the axle. It kind of holds it and locks it into where the nut can't back off while the kids are riding it around. We've got an array of Phillips head. I got a big fat Phillips head and a smaller one. I don't think we're going to need the smaller one, possibly if we take this chain guard off, but the big fat one's going to go into this chain cover right here that actually covers the sprocket and the side casing of the motor. And we've got a couple wrenches here, 8mm wrench, an 8mm 8mm socket on a 1/4 inch extension and a 1/4 inch drive with a swivel on the end. That's going to help us take off this gear shifter here. So let's get started. We know we've got the parts, they came in, and we're going to go ahead and just take off. There's a pin back here that goes through the axle. I'm just going to go ahead and bend that off of there like so. And you just straighten it up and pull it right up out of there. It takes a little bit. That's what the needle nose are for. Just pull it on out, set it to the side, we're good to go. We've got some chain tensioners back here. They look like an 8mm, it might be a 10 mil. And we can check to see if our socket's going to fit that, and they will, so we can unloosen those as well while we're in here. We've got one on each side. And you just take them back enough to where we can pop it off here. So the chain tensioners are loose. We got the pin out of the rear axle. Let's go ahead and take this gear shifter off. And I've got an 8mm wrench. I'm just going to go up underneath and see if we can break it free there. Loosen it up. Sometimes you have to take the whole bolt out, sometimes you don't. We'll see what happens, and then I can go back in with the socket. It's a very hard little spot to get to, so let's see if we can just get it up in there and get that bolt all the way out. And we're going to set that to the side. I got this flathead screwdriver. It's got a little crease right in there on the gear shifter. Let's just go ahead and pop that off. You just put that flathead screwdriver in there gently and just kind of twist it, and I can get up and close and show you. And here's your cotter pin right back here on this rear axle. Let's just straighten this cotter pin on out. Keep it nice and straight. See if we can push it up out of there or pull it up. Rear train adjusters right here. Just go ahead and loosen them up. There's one here and one on the other side. That way we've got some slack right in there. And on the gear shift here, we took out the 8mm bolt, and the screwdriver just goes right up in here like this. And we're gonna do that while prying it out as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get this off gently, pull it out. Let's see if we can get it open enough to wiggle it out of there. Be gentle, don't strip anything, just kind of take your time. And it'll come off. It's got little teeny slits in there, grooves that oppose to the shifter here. That way when it goes on, it can't slip. It's kind of got little teeth up inside there. So let's set that aside too. And get this side cover off and expose the front sprocket. And I'm using the bigger Phillips head for these screws. Kind of hard to get to. This one near the kickstand and the foot peg. Sometimes they're a little tougher. Make note, this is a smaller one. This one down here is longer. Top one, depending on how your bike is, just remember kind of where they were. Sometimes you gotta kind of mess with these. It's right in the way of the kickstand. I don't know why somebody would do that, but that's the way they did it. So let's see if we can kind of get it over top of that kickstand stud there. Make note that one's a little bit smaller. So we got a small one here, small one in the top, longer in the front. And we've got one real long one still right here. Actually, this is a little shorty here. It's got this little cover protector that protects the cylinder head and jug from your foot. And that's a little teeny dinky one. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave that in the guard that it came off of. So let's see if we can get this to pop off of here now. There might be one more on the bottom here. I see one more. This cover plate should just come right off. And set that aside. Alright, so that gives us access to our sprocket right there now. We got the chain guard off. Let's go back over to here and see if we can get this rear axle off. I'm going to leave this chain guard on for now. Hopefully we don't have to remove it, but let's just go ahead and take our 19mm here. Get it on there with our socket. And there's another opposing side to the axle over here. But you're going to need that 19. Actually, this looks like maybe a 14 mil over here. And it'll start spinning. Actually, it's not spinning too bad yet. And if you don't have a wrench for the opposing side, we can just use a crescent wrench here. Go ahead and just get this bolt up and off of there. Set it down to the side. And we've also got this brake lever over here. If you guys can see it right there. You've got the chain adjuster that we loosened, and you got the brake lever right here. And it's got this little butterfly nut. Just go ahead and back that off and just count how many turns. We got a half, 1, 2, 3, and just keep counting them. And if you lose track, it's fine. We're gonna set this later. Basically, we're gonna spin this and hit that down and make sure that it's at the right height. You don't have to push it too far down or it's too far where it won't spin on its own, but we're gonna adjust this later. Just count the number of turns. Take this little brake butterfly off here and set it to the side, and you can see that linkage drop. Now watch out, there's a spring there. Just go ahead and leave the spring if it stays on. If not, set it down to the side as well. So we've got the brake drum freed up, and you can see how that just pivots. And we're gonna go ahead and move the axle out a little bit. I'm gonna use the back of a screwdriver. Right here on this axle, just to kind of tap it through. All right, this is our tensioner here, and note the way these go. The tensioner has to go back on the same way. So let's go ahead and set that to the side. See if we can pull this whole axle out. And there's a spacer on this side as well. So make sure you guys don't lose that spacer, and you note the way your bike might be a little different if you're working on a different type of bike, Honda, Suzuki, Chinese. There's a spacer right there. Just make sure you make note of it. Let's hold this tire up in the air. And we're gonna lose a little balance. We got this thing on the stand right now. And now that we're taking the weight off the back, it's gonna start giving us a problem. Here's the spacer. There's our axle. This whole tire dropped down. All right, now that we got the bike drum, or the whole axle, dropped down, you can see here these little bushings in there are for your torque kind of the motor. Let's set that rim to the side. And you've got the sprocket right here that goes inside there. And I can show you. It just sits right inside. You got these little studs that go right up inside the absorbers. And that's it, just locks in. So we're gonna go, and this is the part that we need. This is the only part we need up on the bench, so we can go ahead and break these free. And over here, we've got the whole brake assembly here. You got your swing, the arm that actually holds it. You can actually look at your brake pads here, and those just go right inside the other side of the hub. No big deal, and you can see how the brake works right there. That little spring opens up, and it pushes out on the inside of this hub right here, up inside here, and that's what stops the bike. So we don't need the rim. We can go ahead and leave that there. Leave the brakes hanging up. The chain is going to be a problem. We're going to have to use a chain breaker to break this chain. It's got a master link in here somewhere, and we actually got lucky. It's right here. We don't need a chain breaker. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get those needle nose pliers. And you can do this before if you want. Makes it a little easier, and let me show you guys what this looks like here. There's your master link right there, and we're going to show you how to get it off. It's open on this end right here, and it horseshoes around, and it just pinches through and holds that master link on. So let's go ahead and get this off. And to get that master link off, I'm actually going to take a pair of needle nose, see if I can gently get it off of there, get it just to kind of clip up. Sometimes you need to do that and use a screwdriver at the same time. That chain comes with a brand new master link, so if you end up hurting this, I generally try to save them for repairs and stuff, but if you end up hurting it, it's no big deal. And I just kind of grabbed it and pinched it, and you can see that's the little teeny master link holder right there. Sometimes you got to get a screwdriver up under there and kind of pinch it, but I just grabbed it. We're going to set that to the side. And your master link will just push right on out of there. There's your master link head right there. And the chain will come apart. That's simple. Go ahead and take that master link out. Even though we don't really need it out, I like to save them. I'm going to throw the chain away, but I'm going to save this link. And that chain right now will just pull straight on out, and it's just garbage. Throw that thing to the side. So now let's get on and get this front sprocket off here. This is your front sprocket. Once again, we want those needle nose. And this is just a horseshoe shape. It starts here and goes around, and it's open right in the center right here. So what we want to do is spin that around and get right in the center of that horseshoe. And let's see if we can just pry up and get that C-clip off of there. We had it there. And sometimes you can use a screwdriver or whatever you need, but it's pretty much off. It's that simple. Go ahead and set that to the side, and the sprocket will come right off. And just wiggle it back and forth, and boom, there it is. And you can see the notches in it that go on the notches of that shaft. It's coming out of the transmission. So that's pretty much garbage too. Let's get the new chain. All right, we got that new front sprocket, and we can match it up if we want. We know the other one's total junk. You can see the difference. The guy we got this used, he put a smaller one on the front, but it's really supposed to take a bigger one. And it can only go on one way. You got some writing on here, which is the same writing as on the front of the bag. I'm just gonna go ahead and put writing side out. Slide it right back up on there. Let's see, make sure she's gonna go on nice and easy. Sometimes you just gotta wiggle them back and forth. Some of them, if they don't come off, there's a screw hole here. That's for your puller. We don't need that. We're getting lucky today. We're just gonna put it back on. And you don't wanna bang it on, because if you bang it on, you're looking at problems as far as bending the sprocket and damaging that transmission. Let's just keep pushing it on little by little and spinning it and pushing it and wiggling it back and forth. Boom, there she is. She's on there now. So we go ahead and take that C-clip that we had and put it back down around there. And they make a C-clip pliers called snap ring pliers. You push them in and open it. And we could go and get those if we need to too. I think we're gonna need those for this new install here. But let's see if we can just push it on. Get that flathead screwdriver and get it started. And boom, it's on. So let's make sure it can't come off. Looks like someone's been in here, and hopefully they didn't beat the snap ring down too bad. Make sure it stays on, make sure it's fitted up in there. All right, got that. Let's move on to the rear sprocket. Okay, so I got the rim up on the table. You can do it on the ground. I just raised it up to a table, and you can see how that sprocket comes out of the hub there. There's our damper bushings, your vibrator bushings in the rear there, and these studs go in. I'm just going to go ahead and set it back in there just so I can get a little bit more torque on these bolts. And this is a 13 millimeter, and I'm just going to take these nuts off, these bolts off here. And you can see how it holds it in there to give you more leverage. Otherwise, you'd be fighting with that thing down on the ground. This one's pretty tight. Go ahead and just loosen all these up. And boom, it should come off. There's your bolts. Simple, easy. And you can see that sprocket's just totally shot. Just junk, total junk. So let's go ahead and get our new sprocket here. Right out of the packet. Came with a JT sprocket sticker, which is kind of nice. Throw it out on your bike. And once again, these can only go one way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the numbers on the outside. That way, if you need to repair it later, you can repair it. And let's go ahead and get these bolts back in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize grease on each one of these bolts before I put them back in. It'll help it come on out easier later on. We're going to wait till to do the chain last. We've got our brake hub on this side. We've got the sprocket mounted inside of here. And we're going to gently feed this up on here. Let's get this brake down out of the way here. And it goes right up inside that hub. It can only sit in there one way. And let's go ahead and gently lift this thing up into place. See if we can swing it where we need it to go. And get that axle back through there. It's kind of where we want it to be. But we want it tilted a little bit more. Looks like this chain guard right here is giving us a run for our money, holding us up. Easier when June's here. So we want to make sure the brake linkage and everything looks right. I think we're going to want this down like this and slide it right in. So we got the back brake where it was here, and your lower one here, it actually looks like it's missing a bolt. But we got that spacer. Remember, that spacer goes on the one side here. You know, just be patient with it. I went ahead and put some anti-seize grease on this axle, and I'm going to push it through. Don't bang it through. Believe me, don't bang it. Just spin it lightly. We'll get it to pop through. There you go. Get that chain adjuster through that little horseshoe right there. Push this through. Let me get the bike situated one more time. All right, got the axle through there. We can go ahead and get our brakes later after we get the axle tightened back up. We've got through on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put that other chain adjuster here on this side. And remember which way it goes, it kind of flared out, so we're going to set it back in there the same way. And this bike's been worked on. It's most of these used bikes, things are just kind of beat up and tweaked. But while you're in there, you can go ahead and straighten them if you want. So we got that in. Let's go ahead and get our axle nut. And we're just going to get that secured on there, no big deal. And we can always hit these chain adjusters later. That way they make this axle slide back and forth. When we get the chain on there, we're going to take the adjustment, we're going to adjust these out and bring that chain back to us. So we've got that ready to go. Let's go ahead and hook up our brake over here real fast, just to get the linkage back on here. Before we forget, make sure that spring's there. And you've got the stud that goes through that little brake arm there. Pretty simple. And get that butterfly nut back on there like so. And we just want to get it started right now. That way we don't forget. We're going to adjust it later. We'll just get it back on there. And you can count how many turns you took it off and how many back on. So at least that linkage is hooked up. It's a little loose, which is the way we want it. And let's go back over here and get this chain on here. We've got that new chain fresh out of the package. Boom, boom. Looks like it's been opened. Of course, it didn't come with a master link. So that company on eBay, I'm gonna have to send them a message. Oh, it might be I spoke too soon. Here it is. So double check that box. Here's the master link here. Let's go ahead and just cut that open, get that ready to go. I saved the old one just in case for other bikes if you need one. But we're gonna use the brand new freshie here. You got your master link. The opposite side of the master link, this goes right on here like that. It makes one full chain link. And this is your clip right here. That snaps over, it's gonna go on top of that. And you're gonna snap it over, it's gonna lock in with that little lobster claw front right there. And you'll figure it out. I can show you, but you really have to just do it yourself. Be gentle, don't bend it up, and push it on. So let's go ahead and get this chain ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and run it up through this chain guard here, or you can feed it down through the chain guard. Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can do it. Let's feed it downhill and grab it on this other side here and just keep it up in the air so we can run it over top this rear axle here, or the rear sprocket. And it's pretty much what we want there. Go ahead and feed it over that top sprocket as well, the front sprocket to the transmission. And let's see if, yeah, so we're about 3 teeth too far. So what we're going to do is adjust these chain tensioners up, and that's going to pull this tire forward. That's what you need. Actually, we need to open these up. My bad. We're going to open these up and pull this tire forward and tighten down this axle to hold it in place. Go ahead and get that like that. And let's just tighten this up just temporarily right now so this hub stays in place and doesn't slide back while we get the chain on. Now that we've got the chain, we're going to run it back over and see where it comes with the link, and you can see right there we're perfect where it's lining up, and that master link will go from the back side out to the front side, just like that. Let's see if I can get you guys down even closer. We're gonna go ahead and take the head of the master link, put that right on it. and you've got that little lobster claw link part. Basically, if you want to check the direction of the tire, if the tire is spinning this way, we don't want that lobster claw going that way, because if it hits up in there, it's going to open up. You want the lobster claw going the opposite direction of the bike. That way, when it comes up, it's hitting this front part here, and it's not hitting that claw, opening it up like that. So you don't want the lobster claw facing the bike. You always want the lobster claw part of the master link lock facing the back. Let's go ahead and get that on there. Let's see if we can use those old needle nose to grab it and just pinch it down on there quick and easy. Boom. It's that simple. You don't bend it, you don't want to pry it, it should just click into place. The bike's got the chain on. We're going to check for some slack, and it's got a ton of slack. So we're going to go ahead and loosen that axle bolt up one more time. You'll watch that rear slide back into place, and you probably want about a 1/2 inch of play. You know, if you push on it, we can adjust it later. But you want to keep that rim centered on both sides here and on the opposing side here. You don't want it too close to one side of the swing arm. You want the same gap here as you have here. And so if you over tighten this adjuster, it's going to pull the tire to the right. If you over tighten this one, it's going to pull it to the left. It's going to be crooked like that. So just kind of let the bike sit nice and free in there. And let me look up inside and see what we've got. It's sitting pretty straight. It's a little closer right here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that adjuster first. About right to the max of where I want it. And go ahead and we're going to tighten the left side here. That'll hold it up as well. And it's about perfect. Let me sit down on the ground here. And I kind of want the tire over a little bit more while keeping some tension on it. So I'm going to have this wrench here locked in, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten it on the other side a little bit. I want it about like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to space it with this wrench right here. If I can get it spaced out right with the socket or something, because I do want it over a little bit. Keep that socket right there, and that's keeping that tire perfectly centered. Chain link tension's good. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this up now. Snug this axle down. Just a little bit. The axle's still loose, and we're going to go ahead and hit these adjusters here with the 8mm. And sometimes you need a deep well socket. I'm going to swap this one out here. This is the one we actually need back here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this bad boy up in there. That's going to space it out nice. That's straight. That's what we want. So let's tighten up these chain adjusters just a little bit. Pretty good. Got about a 1/2 inch play on the chain, and I'll show you guys that in a second. See right here the chain, I'm just pushing up on it, and I've got about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 play. That way when you sit down on the bike, it's going to stretch that chain out on that swing arm right there. So you don't want it too tight. It's going to be way too tight. I think that's that's about good right there. So let's tighten this axle down and do our thing. Take that socket out that we had spaced in there, and you can see down there there's some holes for that pin. Let me go ahead and double check this axle here. It's pretty tight. And you can look right down through there. You'll be able to put that set pin back in there. Should go right down in. And just bend it around. Usually these break, I replace them. This one seems to be okay still. And that'll keep that nut from backing out later. So let's just go ahead and double check these chain tensioners. Make sure they're a little tight. Still got some slack here, it's good. Axle's tight. Cotter pins back in, chains on. Last but not least, let's adjust this brake. We have that butterfly bolt right back here, and you got the linkage arm that goes to your lever right here. We're just going to spin this until it gets a little tight. Keep spinning that rear tire until this butterfly makes that brake mechanism stop the tire, and then we're going to back it off from there. And let's check the leverage here. See how far you got to push down on that. It's too much, so let's go ahead and just keep adjusting this out. Still spinning free, and let's double check the leverage. It's holding that tire pretty tight. I think we can get a little bit more on it for the kids, that way they don't hit something. Tire still spins free now. Brake's working good. Let's go a little bit more on it. If you tighten this down and you can't spin the rim free, it's way over tight. I still want it a little bit tighter. That way they're not hitting they don't have to hit the brake all the way down to the ground. Still spinning free. There we go. And you can always back it up. If you spin this, you can just back this up a notch, have it spin a little bit more free. I think that's good right there. Boom. All set. The brakes are adjusted. All the pins are in. Chain tensioners are good. The gap in the chain is good. We got about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. This stand is actually made for bigger bikes. These little bikes, it's hard to get them up on stands. But let's go ahead. We got our front sprocket in. The C-clip is good. And I went ahead and double checked the C-clip, and I pinched it together to make sure it stayed down in this little notch that it's supposed to sit on this axle shaft, the transmission shaft that comes out the gear shaft. And let's go ahead and get our side cover on, and then we can go ahead and lube this up with some good chain lube, some chain wax or something that's going to stay on of your choice. I like a chain wax or something, that way it sticks to the chain and doesn't fling all up over everything and on every one. So let's get this back over. That one hole will go right through that gear shift lever again. And the other little tabs go into the motor, side of the motor housing. we've got that one kick plate here. It's like a side bracket, kick bracket. It keeps your foot off this jug. Let's go ahead and put that back on there. Right back the way it was. And we knew we had that big long one over here. Big long one there. And I'm just going to snug these down. I'm not going to tighten them up all the way because I want to make sure this cover is in fact straight and flat against the motor. Alright. And even some of these I put that anti-seize grease on as well. That way later on when you're working on this, swapping the chains out or whatever, they will come back out the same way they went in. They won't get rusted or corroded in there, or whoever else works on the bike, it'll be nice and easy to get in and out there. And I'm actually going to take these back out right here. I'm going to start these real fast. Get that anti-seize grease up in there. This one right here where the kickstand is the hardest. I swear you can't really remove that bracket because it's attached to the dang bike. Let's see if we can get down in there with the screwdriver, get it snug. And I'm going to take this long one back out, put some anti-seize on that as well. While you got it out, you might as well. That way things don't get rusted in there and stuck. And same thing with this little shorty right here. I'm going to take it out, get a little dab of grease on the end, and put it right back in. Alright, now that we got all these kind of snug down on there, I'm going to go check for fitment, run my fingers around there. I don't see any gaps. It looks good to me. So we can go ahead and snug these down. Once again, I always do the crisscross pattern. Alright, so we're good. Double check this little guy here. That's good. Go ahead and get this shifter back on. And you want to make sure it's positioned right. You don't want it too high or too low. Generally you want them right about level where your foot is here. That way when you're jumping or something, the kids aren't slamming that thing down. Get that on there. Get the bolt back in. This is a little bit of a chore because the angle of this bolt right there where that foot peg is just very hard to get to. But that's alright, we'll just go ahead and use the 8mm wrench and just get to it that way. Yeah, it's a little bit of a headache. Normally the shifters are out some further than the foot peg like that, but it's fine. Just go ahead and let's just get it snugged up. And I'm going to measure it and see if it can come up any. I'm going to move it up one more notch. I think I want it up a little bit higher. Go ahead and take it off of there gently. and move it up one notch. That way the kids can reach it, because this one is all the way down as neutral and 3 up. That way you can get your toe under here and click it up like that. I think that's going to be a better deal for them. And you could test drive it and always adjust it later. Alright, so we're going to get this back on. This is tight, and you're pretty much ready to roll. Alright, so we got everything on. I double checked everything. The shifter's tight. We got a rear pin in through the axle. It's good. The axle bolt. Chain adjusters are snugged up. The slack in the chain is good. New front sprocket, new rear sprocket, new chain, good to go. The DID chain's heavy duty. And kids should be back out running around in no time. We adjusted the brakes. It's got good sound now. It's not hitting the chain guard like it was before. And now that's it. And over time, this chain's going to get a little bit loose. You can just loosen up these chain adjusters, loosen up the axle a little bit, and just pull back gently and evenly on those chain adjusters. Turn this one twice, or whatever it is, to get that same 1/2 inch to 3/4 gap. You'll see, and what I mean by that is when the chain flexes, you're just about a 1/2 inch to 3/4. Over time, it's going to get more loose because the sprocket's going to wear. And that's exactly what those chain adjusters are for, to get you a little bit more life out of it. Just keep pulling the axle back and double checking that. So I'm going to go ahead and lube this chain up. You can use a WD-40, you can use a chain oil. Right now it came pre-oiled, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit it with some chain wax, and done deal. The kids will be out running in no time. So I'm out of here. I'm on to the next thing. I got a bunch more stuff to film today possibly, and definitely I need to fix it. So fix it yourself. You know, order the chain, get online, eBay, wherever you do your shopping, and get a matching set of sprockets front and rear. Get that chain, get your tools out, put this thing up on a stand somewhere. If you don't have a stand, just use the kickstand and kind of get down on the ground. But that's it, simple. This bike's ready to go. So now anybody can ride it. Even the adults can scat it around without fear of that chain just slamming off that back sprocket back there. So until next time, it's Keith, Two Guys How To. Get some of it, save that money, do it yourself and save that money. And I'm out of here. Peace. Stella's first, well actually third motorcycle ride. No helmet. What's up, Iggy? Talk to him before I shut the video down. Oh yeah. Yep. You're not a pig, you're a lawyer. He's not a pig, he's a lawyer. Peace.
I'm not a pig, I'm a lawyer.